All right, let's do it. Ken Rosenthal, FT Senior Insider, with us right now. We'll do this, then we'll get to Justin Turner. Okay, Ken, let's get your thoughts on the Mariners Twins moves. I don't know how much you caught, and then AJ's already asking, if there's another move coming for the Twins. There's been quite a few players of theirs on the trade block, including Kepler, and Polanco's name came up really throughout the offseason, right?
Really interesting trade, first of all. And yes, they could trade Kepler. They have other options. They could maybe sign a free agent outfielder and then have the flexibility to do that. They saved some money in this deal, and that's going to help them, or they gained some flexibility. And their president of baseball operations, Derek Falvey, was very open last night talking to reporters about the fact that this could lead to other things for them. Now, what's interesting about this trade to me from the Twins' perspective, and we'll get to Seattle too, but AJ, you just asked if Correa regrets going there, if this move signals some kind of teardown. They have lost a good amount. They lost Sonny Gray, they lost Kenta Maeda, but at the same time, with regard to Polanco, they've got depth there. They've got Julian, who Scott talked about. They've got a prospect named Brooks Lee. They've got Royce Lewis in the infield, Carlos Correa. They are in a great position to make this kind of deal, and that's what they did. And they also got what I would say is an adequate return. Some people even thought that the Mariners gave up too much here, that they overpaid for Polanco. You get Topa, back of the bullpen guy, as you guys mentioned, and you get DeSclafani, who should fit into their rotation. It's a health question with him. Of course, he hasn't pitched much the last couple of years. And you get two kids for the future. We'll see how they pan out. From the Mariners' perspective, it's interesting too, because they see themselves as a team that is still quite competitive. They've had financial restrictions. They can't operate the way maybe they would want to in a perfect world, and certainly the way fans would want them to. But they've got Julio in center. They've got J.P. Crawford at short. They've got Polanco at second now. Kyle Raleigh behind the plate. That's pretty good up the middle. They've got pitching, back end of the bullpen, starting rotation. That's good too. You go out and compete and see what you can do there.
So this wasn't just a money dump then by the Twins, because it seems like every move they've made this offseason has been like, we got to shed money. And the Pollard family is one of the richest owners in baseball.
AJ,
we all know they don't have a history of spending. Trust me, I was there when I've told the story. We had to buy our own pullovers. So, I mean, it just seems like every move they make, they're like, okay, well, this is a money move. And they got money back from the Mariners. So maybe,
right.
I guess that's to cover, because I think DeSclafani makes 12 and Polanco was making 10.5, maybe to cover the difference or something.
It's kind of a complicated equation. And yes, they did get money in the deal, but I would never call it a dump when they get four guys back who will, in theory, contribute now and in the future. And as Derek Falvey said last night, they want to do more with the money that they gain, the flexibility that they gain. So it's 4-for-1 now. Could end up being 5-for-1 if they sign a free agent, which they could do to address another need. So listen, both these teams, they're in the RSN web where they don't know what the heck is going on with the future. And yes, they're owned by really rich people. And I don't know that it should make that much of a difference, right? We can all say that. And we can all think it, and who knows, maybe it's even true. But at the same time, these guys are not spending money, so these teams have to kind of adjust to that. The front offices do, and that's what, in my view, both these front offices are doing to the best of their ability. Now, we don't know how the trade is going to work out, but you can certainly see the logic from both sides.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like the Mariners have a better roster now than they did last year? I was explaining to AJ, maybe this wasn't the best example, but they're trying to switch things up because I feel like they watched too many strikeouts, and that's the thing that they decided with their offense they were going to switch. I'm not saying Jorge Polanco is the best contact hitter in the game or Mitch Garver or any of those guys, but they are an upgrade in terms of just swing and miss from what they had in those spots last year, right?
They did want to create a little bit of a different identity, yes. And they lost a good amount of offense. It's Teo Hernandez, it's Eugenio Suarez, it's Jared Kelenic. I looked this up last night. I believe that was about 25% of their home run total, or close to it. That's a lot. But as you said, Scott, they got Garver, they got Polanco. They're going to be a little bit different. I don't know that they're going to be as powerful, but they see this as the way that they want to go now. And clearly that was an intent here, that they wanted to make it a little bit more of a contact-oriented offense. I don't even know that there are many players today you would even categorized as contact oriented, but the guys they had, Suarez in particular, struck out a ton.
Okay, so the Diamond Sports, Bally Sports thing keeps popping up, right? The
Yes.
Twins already said we got to cut payroll from about 155 to 125 to 130 ish, whatever their number ends up being. Okay, how long are we going to have to hear about the Diamond Bally thing being held over people's heads? Like, is this just a way for owners to hold down salaries until? And then all of a sudden, as soon as the spring training or opening day happens, they're gonna be like, "Hey guys, we got all our money. Okay, we can sign people again." But oh wait, it's too late.
Well, AJ, you make a great point. And we don't know exactly where it's going with the Diamond Valley thing and if it'll work out even better for clubs in the future when they get direct to consumer ability and all of that. Probably not. The cable model was really beneficial to clubs, as Evan Drellick explained on the show yesterday. But at the same time, if you're looking at this and taking a step back, every year it's a different excuse. Go back to the pandemic. Oh, the pandemic, we're never going to make it. Biblical losses is what Tom Ricketts said. Biblical losses.
Force majeure.
And the team seems, and the sports seems to be doing just fine now, right? That was 2020. Then we had the lockout. Oh, we had the lockout. We can't spend money. Now this year it's regional sports networks. Every year it's something else. And listen, this is the way industry operates. They're always going to look to save money and cut costs, but fans should take it only so seriously. And I'm not saying that the RSN situation isn't real or isn't something that is having an impact or should have an impact. I get it. It has an impact. But again, I'm looking forward to next year's excuse because it will be something else.
Ken, what can you tell us about the newest Blue Jays third baseman?
I like it. And I don't know that he's going to be the third baseman necessarily, but I like Justin going to that team. And you guys remember at the end of last season, I think we talked about this on the show. I certainly wrote about it. I kind of kept calling the Blue Jays paper tigers because they weren't the team on the field that they were on paper. They didn't play to their potential. We all would agree with that, I think. Justin Turner walks into that clubhouse, and I don't want to be critical of their team and who they have because they certainly have some decent veterans, George Springer foremost among them. But you've got an adult walking into the room. And to me, they need a little bit of that juice that they're going to get from him. And it's not that he's a yeller. It's not that he's vocal. But there's a way he goes about his business. And there is a seriousness he brings to his craft. It's how he saved and turned around his career. So in my view, this is a really good signing for them. And I wrote about this earlier this week. They tried to get Jock. Couldn't get Jock. They wanted it left-handed. They're still way right-handed. But the way it was explained to me by one of their front office people was, listen, if we can find a right-handed hitter who hits right-handed pitching, that's good too. Justin Turner hits right-handed pitching, not like J.D. Martinez necessarily, but he's not going to cost what J.D. Martinez is going to cost. So it's a good deal in my view for the Blue Jays. It's the right guy. At some point, Justin Turner, 39 years old, is going to stop performing. Let's just hope for the Blue Jays' sake it's not this year.
Well, Ken, are they better? Are they a better team right now than last year's team in your mind?
I don't know. You lose Chapman. That's a good amount. They did sign Yariel Rodriguez. And if Manoah comes back, their starting pitching is going to be really a force. I don't know that I would say that they're better. They lost Belt, too. And Belt had a really good run for them. So they're different. They've got kind of Falefa coming in. He should help them. I still would like to see a left-handed power hitter join that team, another one, and go from there. They're one bat short, in my opinion, still.
Does the Justin Turner, we've heard Joey Votto to the Blue Jays. Does this close the door on Joey Votto to the Blue Jays? You just said a left-handed power bat. That's not really Joey Votto at this stage in his career. And also, while we're on it, can this get Vladimir Guerrero Jr.? I know he was just named the MLB The Show 24 cover athlete, but he didn't have a very good year last year.
I don't think Votto's going there. And I would expect this closes the door. Justin Turner at this stage of his career is mostly a DH. Let's face it. So that's where I think this is going with Toronto. That's probably the role he will fill for them. And Joey Votto's not going to play over Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and he's kind of an excessive or a surplus that you don't need if you have Justin Turner. As for Vladimir Guerrero Jr., I am quite certain he wants to have a better year, and I don't know if Justin Turner can help him at all along those lines, but I would expect he's just going to play better. That was a weird year, no question about it. I Still have not gotten an explanation for why he didn't perform the way he did in 21 21. But he, I am sure, wants to get back on track.
Why would the Blue Jays not just sign Belt back then? I know
They
his back
could.
was an issue for a little while, but yeah, is that door
They could.
closed? Is that
To me, an outfielder would be even better if they can get one. Somebody who could do some things out there. Michael Taylor might be one guy that they would look at. I know they've got Kiermaier to play center, so you don't necessarily need Michael Taylor. But one more guy. That's what I'm saying. One more guy, preferably left-handed. Doesn't have to be left-handed, but Belt to me would seem to be extraneous in the way that Votto is, because Justin Turner is a primary DH.
yeah?
You know who to look good in a Blue Jays uniform? Shohei Ohtani. He's a big left-handed strapping lad that can hit homers, Ken. I'm just saying. But it didn't work out. You know, he went to LA.
They tried.
He went to a different blue team.
They tried.
Listen, I know. Speaking of teams trying, the Red Sox. Well, are they trying? Because they let Justin Turner. They're not okay.
They're not trying the way they should be trying. I mean, let's face it. They're the Boston Red Sox. Okay, they don't have this regional sports network problem. They own Nesson. They are a team that should be, as their chairman Tom Werner said earlier this offseason, they should be full throttle. They've got Jordan Montgomery sitting in Boston, working out in Boston. His wife is doing a residency in Boston. He is right in front of them. And maybe they'll sign him, but it sure doesn't seem like they're going to do anything big. Sam Kennedy, their team president, said at their winter event that they probably, or he indicated they might be cutting payroll. It's inexplicable to me the way they're running this thing. Now, they have young talent coming. They've got some interesting pieces even this year that they're going to incorporate. But again, it's the Boston Red Sox. And why are they not spending more? Why are they, when they need a starting pitcher, when that's their number one thing, a top of the rotation guy? You've lost Sale, who could have been that guy, but maybe wasn't going to be. Who's that guy? And if they sign Blake Snell, if they sign Jordan Montgomery, you can say, okay, I get it. Doesn't look like they're going to do that. And again, Montgomery is in their backyard. Granted, he's probably waiting for Texas, but maybe the Texas thing doesn't happen. And maybe that's what Boston's waiting for. Maybe they're thinking, okay, if that blows up, we can get Montgomery at a better price. But they they need a top of the rotation guy.
Ken, we were just talking about the Twins a little bit and the Blue Jays, and like you said, the Paper Tiger teams where they're better on paper. I think both those teams are kind of counting on some of their key players being better this year than they were last year and taking steps forward. But you look, if the Blue Jays were in on Shohei, that means they have money to spend. What's to stop them from going out and getting a Cody Bellinger who's going to cost significantly less than a Shohei? What's same kind of question for Boston. If they're still the Boston Red Sox, why aren't these teams spending? And why does it always take so late in the winter up until right in spring training for people to even make moves on this?
Jason, that's a good question. And I wouldn't put it entirely on the teams that it's taking this long. Scott Boras, the agent for many of these top free agents, Montgomery, Chapman, Bellinger, he certainly is not afraid to protract these things as long as he wants to. So that's part of it too, in fairness. Now, the difference between a Shohei Ohtani and a Bellinger is Shohei Ohtani not only is going to generate value for you on the field, he's going to generate immense value for you off the field. And I would think that the Jays viewed him as an exception. So if you sign him, you get all this added extra revenue. If you sign Cody Bellinger, who is not as sure a thing because he had last year as a resurgence, but the couple of years before that, admittedly, when he was physically compromised, not so good, it's not the same. It's not going to have the same financial impact on your club, on your organization. That is the hesitation, I would imagine, that they don't see Bellinger like they saw Shohei Ohtani. But at the same time, you raise a good point. Why not? I know you've got Kiermaier in center and you've got Vlad Jr. at first, so Cody Bellinger doesn't fit so naturally. But I don't know. Good players seem to be a good thing for a team. Cody Bellinger's a good player.
All right, so I really want to get to the topic of not trying. The Oakland A's article. No. But this is another level, okay? And you know how passionate I am on this topic. Ken put out an article about the Oakland A's. So, Ken, I'll let you kind of just open up the parts that stood out. But there is one part I'd definitely like you to touch on is the sources that are saying behind the scenes what kind of payroll they're anticipating in the future to ramp up. Because to me, that was some news that they're floating around there. They haven't really talked about what that would look like. You put some numbers out there and I was cracking up because I'm like, if anybody believes that they are going to play ball anywhere close to $200 million before 2089, they're nuts.
2089? Well, what I reported is that what they are projecting is in the years leading up to the opening of the Vegas ballpark, probably 2026-27 with the ballpark opening in 28. They're projecting to be in the $130 to $150 million range. And then once the ballpark opens, they are projecting $170 million plus payrolls. Now, I asked the team president, Dave Kaval, about those numbers. He would not confirm them, but he did say we expect to be in the higher end. Now, the average payroll last year was 165. So if you're going to be in the higher end with salaries going up by 2028, it's going to be in that range minimally, 165, 170 plus. Will they get there? My whole premise of the column was I'm skeptical of this whole thing, that I'll believe it when I see it because we have heard a lot of things from the A's over the years, and look at them. Look at where they are. Look at what John Fisher has spent. His highest payroll ever was $92 million in 2019. Now, he will say, Dave Kaval said, that because of the additional resources they'll get in Vegas, they'll now be able to spend. They'll be able to sign their own players, which they haven't done in the past. They'll be able to enter the free agent market. Now, for anybody who's followed the A's, under Fisher in particular, this is like shocking to hear. And it was shocking for me to hear. That's their plan. I'll believe it when I see it, like I said. And again, even if they execute it, you're asking John Fisher to spend money in the ramp-up years when, by the way, they don't have a home park, 2025 to 27. They're going to find one, but it's not going to be most likely a major league park. Well, he's going to spend money that he doesn't have. John Fisher, the way he's run his team over the years, let's just call me skeptical.
All right, so I actually read this article of yours one of the few times that I actually
Thank
read
you,
the whole
AJ.
thing.
Yeah,
Deep
You're welcome. You got my athletic
Took them
money.
3 hours.
There was only a couple of pictures in that I kind of was trying to get through. Okay, but by the way, I'm still waiting for my reimbursement for the athletic, but one day you'll get it to me. That's a whole different
one day.
story. But
You get a free subscription?
no, Ken said he didn't reimburse me, but he's yet to. So
No, you have to read every article ever from Ken. Whatever.
Okay, well,
That's what
going
you
to take me forever. But I love what you said though. You're like they could stay in Oakland. Maybe they could stay in Oakland, but is Oakland want them after this year coming up? Because if they stay in Oakland, they get to keep their TV money. But if they move to Sacramento, it's outside the Bay Area, so they don't get the money. If they move to Vegas, they're going to have to renegotiate a TV deal. There's no way John Fisher is going to want to pass up that money. So where are they going to play? Because again, I mean, I get what you're saying, and I've been saying this from the get-go. They're talking about Vegas, Sacramento, Oakland, here, there, Salt Lake, blah, blah. If I'm the Players Association, I'm telling John Fisher to fuck off. And I'm like, pick a place we got to play because I don't want my players playing all over. I mean, it worked in Toronto because of COVID. I get how they did it. They did it for a short time. But for 3 years, you're going to bounce players around? That's not fair. And there's no way all of a sudden, miraculously, in 26 or 27, if they get their new stadium in 28, John Fisher's going to be like, okay, let's raise our payroll, I don't know, $125 million in one offseason. It's never going to happen. So I agree with you on this, Ken. I think this is all just a farce from them.
AJ, first of all, I'm glad you read the article. And second, I'm glad you brought this up because this is a key point. So, as the San Francisco Chronicle has reported, the local TV deal that they have with NBC Sports California paid them $67 million last year. And as you mentioned, once you leave the Bay Area, that money is not there. Now, you could renegotiate with Sacramento or even Salt Lake City to get some other kind of deal with Vegas. You create kind of a new TV market with Sacramento and Vegas or with Salt Lake City and Vegas, but it's not going to match what it is in the Bay Area. So do you stay in Oakland and keep collecting the $67 million? That would be hard to imagine. Do you play some games in Oracle Park to get a portion of that money? That's the Giants' home park. Maybe you can figure that out. There are ways to do this, but it doesn't seem like in the end it's going to be as lucrative. And again, as you said, AJ, and as I wrote, John Fisher is going to walk away from $67 million. If that's what it is in the subsequent years, it might even be higher. It's hard to imagine that. And again, when you look at this whole picture, what I'm talking about here, how it will work in the years 2025 to 27 when they're vagabonds, how it will work once they get to Vegas, how this all will play out. It's difficult for anyone who has paid attention to look at this and say, yeah, I get that. That makes a ton of sense to me. That I'm sure they will do that. I want to see it before I believe it.
There's no way, Ken. The Giants. Have you? I mean, you've been in the Bay Area enough to know. I mean, I played for the Giants. There was billboards about Giants versus A's. There is no way in hell you had a better chance of me reading another one of your articles than the Giants do of letting the A's play in San Francisco.
Well, they'd let them play there for a price, I'm sure. I don't think it's out of the question.
You think?
It's something that is under discussion, and I don't know where they're
Wow.
going with it. Cavill wouldn't comment on what their plans are for the interim play period. I know Salt Lake City is really serious about hosting them. It would be in a minor league park. They could play in their own AAA park in Summerlin, Nevada. That's part of Vegas. Again, I'll believe it when I see it. And in this article as well, I asked Tony Clark about this. And Tony Clark at the All-Star break addressed the baseball writers. We have an annual press conference with him then. And he expressed concerns about the amenities of where they're going to play, the way players will be housed, all of the different things that come into play, playing conditions in a AAA park. And I asked him again a couple of days ago, and he said, same concerns. I have the same concerns. So, yes, they're going to have to get through the Players Association, and I'm not so sure it's going to be easy.
Yeah, there's so many steps.
Dude, okay, so if they made $67 million off TV, what was their payroll? $40 million last year? $50 million?
Something like that. Yep.
So they made it. There's 20.
That's just local TV.
But that's $20 million they made before
TV,
revenue sharing, before all the other stuff.
National
parking.
TV.
That's what I'm saying. BAM, all the BAM money, all that stuff they all get. Dude, John Fisher made $100 million last year.
Probably.
I mean, I don't know that for a fact, but he's close.
It's very basic math.
Can they use 50,000? Can they use 50,000 on those dugouts, bathrooms?
No,
just
evidently not. Jason.
Anything.
Mm-mm.
Ken, obviously we're dumbing it down a little bit, but that is the basic math. I mean, you look at a team. I know there's more than just the player salaries, but when you add up the rest, it's not crazy usually, and you do the math. I mean, it's hard to look at a situation like that and not be like, wait, where is all of the money going?
That's a very good point. And these teams will tell you, not just the A's, but other low revenue teams that don't spend enough on Major League payroll, we're spending on infrastructure. We talked about this with the Marlins recently. We're spending on player development. We're spending on scouting. I think they're
I'll
doing
tell you who helps out the A's. Scott, when he shops at Baby Gap for his shirts.
No, I'm on a
You're on a Gap hiatus? Man, no wonder your wardrobe has been
Gap protest.
slacking.
For anyone that's out of the loop, that's the Fisher family, John's
Owns
family.
Owns
Not John. He hasn't done anything for himself ever. Ken, thank you very much. Appreciate the time and great article.
Thanks, guys.
Ken.
It is a great article. So check it out in The Athletic. And also Ken's Fair Territory explains more of the A's Vegas situation, the Hector Nery signing, a little Hall of Fame recap, and a lot more if you check it out. He does a great monologue at the top, too, on the BBWAA awards.